Hey everyone, we're Old Man and Skinny Guy.
I'm Old Man.
And I'm the Skinny Guy.
Today, welcome to episode 4, Bad Fantasy, really? In this episode, this happened in July, the topic that we're talking about today. Something happened, ESPN put this crazy video out as a commercial for one of their apps, and kind of got under my skin, and
just a little bit.
Just a little, and we actually scrapped the episode idea that we were going to do for the day, and Skinny Guy indulged me, let me get it off my chest, and kind of talk about it. But it is something that is apt to LARPing and gaming in general,
and the way that we get seen in media and the exposure that gamers are getting these days.
Right. So we just want to make sure that
both positive and negative.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, as in most of our episodes, the title will make sense pretty quickly as you listen to the episode. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that people heard this episode, because even though it did happen in July, this is something that, you know, I'm sure some folks have opinions on, just like I did.
Yeah, according to the comments section under that video, yes. Many people had opinions on it.
Yeah, so we just wanted to make sure that it came out.
We also want to remind you guys, come down to our website and check out the Skinny Guys bulletin board. That's where you can reach out to us and let us know what's going on in your gaming communities, what's interesting to you, what games you're checking out. And in that regard, we want to highlight something that we came across just recently. Chris showed this to me, that the same group that did the Harry Potter College of Wizardry LARP in Poland is trying to run a campaign to do a Rocky Horror LARP.
And for those who are unaware, I happen to be a huge Rocky Horror fan. So when this came across my feed, I was like, oh, this is the perfect thing to talk about for the bulletin board. They, as of the time of this recording, when this drops, there should be about a week left on their campaign, about 7 days to be exact.
And they're looking to raise 80,000 euros to make this event happen. Some
of their goals for it are literally tickets to the game itself. Or if they don't meet their goals, folks are not going to be paid. They're not going to be paying for a game that's not happening.
Yeah, and as we are based in the U.S. and many of our listeners are also here in the U.S., we should point out that this is an event that's going to happen in Poland.
Yes, and just for those who are unaware, we do have some international fans, which surprised the hell out of us.
Some anonymous Kevins out there from across the world.
Yes, and so this actually might be apt to you if you're downloading this. If you're downloading this episode, this game is in Poland, so maybe you might be interested. We're going to put a link to the actual Indiegogo campaign in our show notes, because it is a pretty damn long long URL, so we just want to make sure folks can actually see it. We also want to thank, as always, our patrons for supporting what we're doing. Again, we couldn't do this without you, especially since we met our first goal. I mean, things have been going really smooth since we met it.
Thank you for everyone that's given us a response, a rating.
Yes.
Just mentioned it to your friends. We really appreciate all of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, the fact that we thought only one person would ever listen to our show, the fact that we've gotten the support that we have, it really means a lot to us. So please keep that feedback coming in, keep giving us ratings, keep sharing us, tell us what you think.
Yeah, and let us know. We would love to hear from more of you. We hear from some of our friends that are listening that we see every day. But there's some of you out there that are from some of these games and are coming in from various corners of the internet. We'd love to hear from you too. But with that, I guess we'll just kick it over to the actual episode.
Yep.
So with that, welcome to episode 4, Bad Fantasy. Really?
We're just going to jump right into it. Something came across my Facebook in the last couple of days, and it's really gotten the LARP community kind of, I don't want to say up in arms, but it really has kind of raised everyone's hackles over something, So essentially what happened was ESPN put out a commercial for a fantasy football app that they're releasing, and it's essentially the way it's actually titled bad fantasy. And it opens up with what you and I would instantly recognize as a group of LARPers in a fantasy LARP, just getting ready to do battle. The gist of the whole commercial, I'm not going to just go through the whole commercial, but the gist of the commercial is that the way they're trying to sell this app is don't LARP because that's bad fantasy. You actually want to do good fantasy, which is fantasy football and blah, 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 whatever the hell ESPN is trying to advertise. As you would expect, folks in the community were not happy after so many years of being stereotyped as like these loner nerds and all these negative stereotypes for this shit to come out.
Yeah, so I had not actually seen this commercial until about 10 minutes ago, but I did, however, come across an article, just online that was someone taking a look at this commercial and actually putting a very positive spin on it.
Right. I actually I have this article. I want to read it because it's...
You're going to read the entire
Yeah, I'm
article?
going to read the article because it's worth reading because it's hilarious.
All right, I'm just going to sit back.
Yeah. So the author of this article he goes by Sam the Part-Time Rogue. He's the editor of ElsewereNightly.com. And his actual name is Sam Swicegood. He's a freelance writer. But he's been a LARPer, according to his bio here, he's been a LARPer since... he's been LARPing for over a decade.
Okay.
So it's an open letter to ESPN. I love this article. It's really funny. So it says, an open letter to ESPN. Thank you. To the fine marketing minds at ESPN, thank you for your recent commercial featuring LARP. I want to talk about why it was so great and how happy I am to see you featured it. In your commercial, a regiment of fantasy-clad LARPers stand in line wielding boffer weapons. The king, dressed in armor and furs, walks down the line and spots one of the soldiers with a sword whose cover is falling off. The king, who is apparently also a safety marshal, as many veteran players are, notices this and tells him that it's not suitable for play in its condition by declaring, "You cannot go into battle without the proper weapon." Good on you, king guy. Keeping people safe. Especially good since the person with the defective weapon, Steve, appears to be a new player. You can tell from his football gear armor. And then there's an actual picture, like a screen cap from the video where it shows the king and his servant, and it says this is literally thousands of dollars of gear in one picture.
Oh yeah, absolutely it is.
So if anybody's actually seen this, you'll know exactly what I'm referencing.
Well, how about this? Anyone that is interested can follow along with this article as you read it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before I move on, can we talk about the garb here? I mean, seriously, look at the detail in the king's garb. He looks like he dropped a sack of cash at Dark Knight Armory, which is they do a lot of LARP gear, costuming and stuff,
weapons and armor and all that.
And I am super jealous. Look at the detail in that crown. Look at the detail in that fur. As a LARPer, I am seriously drooling over that garb and armor.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What are details in fur?
I don't know. It could be, I don't know. It could be different colors. It could, I don't know.
Yeah, I like its enthusiasm.
Yeah, no. I'm sure he, if we asked him, he would know. I'm seriously drooling over the garb and armor. There are some serious LARPers who have really gone all out for authenticity. I want it so bad. Anyway, I digress. Malachi, the king shouts, and his squire appears in a moment's notice. And look at his helmet, man, and the chainmail. Oh, I want it. Retaining complete immersion, the king demands that brother Malachi get a suitable replacement boffer for the new guy from his car. Malachi agrees, and then runs over to his car while his boffer flail hangs over his shoulder. God, I wish Darkon check-in lines were half this interesting in real life. Darkon, also another LARP that exists.
That was the subject of a movie documentary of the same name,
yes,
I believe. Yeah.
Yes. So, and he continues, and just like any LARP, these LARPers immediately jump in to help the new player and loan him a weapon. Why? Because being new and having a shoddy weapon shouldn't stop you from having a good time. I remember my first boffer game, and I brought my own sword. It failed check-in, and like 6 people offered to loan me theirs. That's how LARP's friendship starts, man. ESPN, you have clearly done a great deal of research here. You've displayed the LARP tenets of safety, immersion, and costuming, which are all important in any LARP setting. In just 2 lines, you've basically explained field marshaling, character, equipment, and armor, and showed how helpful and welcoming the LARP community can be. We were all Steve once, and the world of LARP was unfamiliar, scary, and a little ridiculous. That's how most communities are. Finally, ESPN, you have shown how active LARP is. In the final shot, we can see the LARPers going at each other with energy and ferocity. Most people don't realize how much energy and activity can be required. +1 for realism. It's too bad Steve got tired out so quickly. So easily, though. Since in the next scene, he's relaxing by his car and playing on his iPad with whatever game you're advertising. He must have really went at it with all his energy. But we can see the other LARPers in the background, so he still hasn't left the game site. I bet once he's done with a round or 2 on his fantasy football game, he'll jump right back into the fight. You go, Steve. You go. I'll see you on the field. Stay hydrated. Right? ESPN, please let us know when you will start covering bad fantasy as a sport. I will definitely tune in to see it. Sincerely yours, Sam the Part-Time Rogue, editor, elsewherenightly.com, parttimerogue@gmail.com.
So when I first read this article, I had not seen the actual commercial, and I didn't realize the bad fantasy, like, quote-unquote joke of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a completely sarcastic
I thought
response.
this was just, like... I assumed that this was, like, a legitimate take.
Oh, no. This was a completely sarcastic response.
I got that he was being, like, over the top about it.
Yeah.
But.
Oh, no. He was over the top and sarcastic. There's so much shade in here. It's great. I love it. So,
but he really does take all the best aspects.
Yes.
That are shown in there.
Yes, which is great because all I've seen since this popped up on my feed a couple of days ago is just people are just so pissed off at this at both ESPN and the way all of this is kind of played out in the last couple of days. I mean,
angry people on the internet.
Well, yeah, that's a given, but you add to that now enthusiastic LARPers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, fair.
Yeah. So a lot before I came across this article, some of the responses that I saw were, wait a minute, you're promoting a game where you sit on your ass and play a game on your computer rather than actually engaging in physical activity. ESPN, I thought you were founded on actual sports activity, activity being the key word here.
I mean, technically, they're a company founded on watching other people do activities, right?
Yeah. I would agree with that. So
are you not energetic enough to get up there and buffer fight for however long? Because it is very tiring.
Oh yes, it is extremely exhausting. You have to really you gotta stretch. You got.
Dude, people always look at me. Before I
gotta limber up, man.
I don't know if it's a universal term, main mod, but at least around here, it usually refers to, sort of the culmination of the weekend where you have the big final fight.
Right. Yeah.
The story is culminating in its final battle, and then it's usually a slog. It's many, at times, many hours.
Yes,
of just
absolutely.
Continual fighting and. Trying to cover your defenses and what have you, and running around.
When I was a younger man, I could do it without stretching or limbering or any of that good stuff.
Yeah, and I've never been the most combat-centric, LARPer, even at these live combat games.
Right.
But, I usually end up running around and, helping bring people to healers or what have you. So, before main mods now, I'll get down, I'll do some lunges, I'll, stretch out my legs. So that I can still walk afterwards,
which is because at the very least you want to be able to hobble away from the bad guy.
Yeah, I need to be able to run away because I sure can't fight them.
Yes, exactly. But I think, that kind of leads to the next point. What I was going to make when I was saying that folks were really coming away from this commercial with really bad taste in their mouth. One of the things that I came across besides that awesome article from Sam the Rogue, was the Times it's from blog.timesunion.com. It's fantasy football versus Dungeons and Dragons. And this is actually from 2013.
Okay, because I was going to say, there have been articles like this for a long time.
Right. But this.
I've not read this article.
Yeah, and this is. I'm not going to read the whole article, but some of the points that it actually makes is like the first one is you develop a fantasy world. One you're a sports coach. The other an elf or whatever. Sure, one's a little more fantastic than the other, but it's still an alternate reality with its own set of rules. The fantasy groups name their teams. The Dungeon and Dragons folks, they name their characters. It's the same. It's similar.
Yeah, I mean, the only real difference is where you're getting the base information.
Right,
One,
exactly.
it's loosely based in sports statistics and quote-unquote reality.
Yeah.
And the other one is based in whatever game mechanics were designed by the company.
Right. The next one is you can't play by yourself. You need a bunch of your friends willing to help you create your fantasy world. One smells like beer, cigars, and testosterone. The other like candle wax, Red Bull, and acne cream. But it's still a little group of campaigners that you play with regularly. I don't know about the acne cream so much.
Your mileage may vary.
Yes, exactly. I think honestly, when we play, ours tends to be a lot like the first description, which is beer, cigars, and testosterone when we're playing our game. Let's see. I'm just gonna jump around here. You're trying to accomplish something in your fantasy world that you can never do in real life, whether it's playing football with Tom Brady or slaying a dragon. Unless you develop delusions, this is as close as you're gonna get. So I've actually heard this argument before, where someone says, "Oh, that's not real," and I was like, "And you're never gonna get drafted into the NFL." It's like I think Chris Hardwick says that. Yeah, in one of his comedy routines, he talks about Quidditch. And he's like,
you can join a Quidditch league.
Oh yeah, no, they exist and they look a lot of fun. Look like a lot of fun. But he actually he jokes around that's his argument when they were like, oh, that's not real. It's like you're never gonna get drafted.
Yeah. So it almost goes all the way back to like, what is your idea of fun?
Yeah.
Like, is being involved fun? Well, yeah, you can be involved by being on the sports field and running around and throwing a ball or whatever you're doing.
Right.
Or you can have fun by coming up with stories with your friends.
Mm-hmm. And I like at the end here, the person who wrote it, I'm trying to find who wrote it, Jay McBride, he says, I think what bugs me is that there's a stigma attached to D&D, but not to fantasy football. But I think you're all geeky in your own special way. So nerds unite. Give yourselves all a wet willy as a sign of solidarity. Like, I was like,
I've also seen in similar sort of commentary where people will be like, oh, look, LARPers go out there and they dress up as whatever character they're playing, but then you watch like the Super Bowl and how many people are dressed up in team colors and like body paint. And,
it's like the similarities are so similar. It's like I don't have my
wow, you are just a wonder.
I'm on fire today. It's like I don't have my thesaurus with you're right in front of me. Everything both aspects of whether it's fantasy football or Dungeons and Dragons or LARPing or whatever, it's so similar. If I had to guess why ESPN took this route, one, it's easy. It's like their marketing team, like it was like, oh, what's the easiest thing that we can make fun of, where there's going to be little to no backlash, or if there is a backlash, we can handle it.
But at the same time, they're also highlighting LARPers. They're also sort of suggesting, like, hey, you might be interested in all these other sort of fantasy games. Maybe you'd be interested in fantasy football.
No, but it's specifically labeled like it. The big thing just comes up, goes bad fantasy.
Yeah.
Like all right, so now you're just completely labeling something. Like up until that point, they had me. Like it was like, oh, this is kind of funny. I understand where they're going with this, but it's cool. And then the minute bad fantasy came up, I was like, fuck you, ESPN. I mean, seriously, it's like now you're taking the easy route, and I think, like, honestly, I think that's what happened here. Like they decided to go take what they considered, not that it actually is an easy route, but they took what was minimal effort of, okay, we're ESPN, we're jocks, let's just go shit on nerds.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, how many of our friends that would be into stuff like fantasy football and sports, and watching ESPN, also love things like Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah.
Like, pretty much anyone that is aware of Game of Thrones either loves or doesn't care about it, but they all know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Nerd culture is growing, and that's a demographic that companies are starting to look at, I think. And I think that's part of the reason that it is. They highlighted, LARPers.
Yeah, I also...
LARPers are an easy target because LARP never looks good on film, in my experience.
Yeah. That is unfortunately true.
I mean, there are good examples to various degrees. We both love the movie Role Model.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
And when I saw that movie, I went into it, at the time I was, the new player liaison for a fantasy game, and I didn't know what they were going to show. And what they showed was sort of a battle game. It's not the style of, weekend-long boffer game that we were playing.
Yeah.
But in the end, the story is that activity helped two people bond. Helped, the four of them bond at the end.
Oh, no. Yeah, the overall message of the movie was really, really funny.
Yeah.
Could they have changed some aspects in there? Absolutely. But it's Hollywood.
Have I ever gone to a fantasy game where people were wearing stormtrooper armor? No.
Right.
Would I like to? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I'm not speaking for myself, but I do know that there was an instance where Kiss did come to one of the games that you and I went to.
Really?
Not the actual group. We had people who dressed up like Kiss.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
So
to be fair, Guar was invading.
Yeah. Well, again, these are aspects that you would find in the game, and they're funny as hell. But I think that going back to why the marketing department, why ESPN decided to do this, also. There's this thing in marketing where there's no such thing as bad marketing. One way or another, people are going to be talking about this, and that's marketing right there. That they're going to get people to talk, like we're talking about it right now, And while we're not going to put the link up on our website or anything, for it, I'm sure somebody will say, "Well, I got to see it for myself," and they'll go look for it.
But I think we should put the link to the video up.
I don't know.
I mean, not that it's hard to find.
No, right, but I don't want to, honestly, I don't want to help ESPN, unless it was ESPN de Ocho.
But here's... It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
See if it plays out for him.
No, but to that exact same point, there's no such thing as bad marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ESPN just gave LARPing a whole lot of marketing.
Well, yeah, and that's the other side to take away from this.
Yeah.
Is I really do like the fact that it got people riled up. I like the fact that people are now talking about how the positive aspects of LARPing, like some of the I don't have the specific posts that people put up, but some of them were just like, no, I've made so many friends. LARPing,
oh, yeah.
and
we wouldn't be sitting here talking to each other into microphones if it wasn't for...
Exactly. That's what I love to take away from all this, is specifically that. What are the positive things that we can... Yes, there was the negative connotations, granted.
Because it's like a 30-second commercial, right?
I think, yeah, just about. It's not long at all. It does its damage right away. Like it doesn't even wait.
But it's so good though. Dude, as soon as Malachi pokes his head into frame, I was like, nice.
Yeah. Oh man, like I said, I think it's just.
I wish more LARPers wore helmets like those.
Yeah,
because helmets are super uncomfortable.
Let me tell you something. That was some sweet. That was some sweet gear. I agree with Sam. That was really, really fun to watch. And let's face it. The dude showed up to the game wearing football gear. And he had a cardboard sword.
He did. Covered in tinfoil.
And so he obviously didn't do his research.
But he was an interested party.
Yeah.
And they were there to help him out.
Right, exactly. And that's what I loved. It was like, go get the flail from your minivan. Go get him another sword from your minivan. It's like, all right, cool, perfect. That would absolutely happen in 2 seconds. Yeah, I think the messaging, ESPN needs to work obviously on their messaging. From other things that I read while doing my research on this, ESPN has been flailing as a television network for some time now.
Oh, floundering? Like
Flailing, floundering would be like
suggest that they're doing bad and they're going under. What do you mean by flailing? They're just doing whatever?
Yeah, well, they're trying to make waves. They're trying to to put themselves back on the map because their ratings are very low.
Okay. I mean, I haven't had cable television in years at this point.
Yeah, but that's like I didn't know. I'm not a sports ball fan. I don't watch ESPN. I don't know much about what's going on.
I love any activity where you have to points all you can to win.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, I think it's just a really interesting dynamic that they brought up, and the fact that it really got people.
I like
talking about LARP.
The collateral, LARP conversation is really, really good. I think it's beneficial to the community.
Yeah.
Especially when we have great articles such as the one that you read.
Yeah. That made watching that crappy ass 30 seconds so worth it because he pulled every positive thing out of it.
I have to wonder how I would feel about this had that article not been my entry point.
Yeah.
Because did you see the commercial first?
I saw the commercial first, yeah.
And what was your initial takeaway?
I was like, what the fuck is this? It was like, seriously?
It was just like, you sons of bitches.
No. I actually, my first reaction was, why have we gone backwards? Like honestly, it felt like a gigantic step backwards as far as how mainstream LARP is perceived now.
From all those other obvious examples of mainstream LARP, like where are we coming backwards from? I know that there's like incidental TV shows will highlight LARP as a one-off thing.
Well,
just because it's a curiosity for most
people.
Well,
I guess what I mean by that is that, say for example, body shaming and toxic players and all of these things that go on. It's been kind of, I don't want to say it's been the norm, but maybe it is.
It's a known part of the community,
right? But there hasn't been. I guess it was like blatantly going after a community.
So the fact that it was just jokingly, quote unquote, negative, that it was just a negative.
Yeah, it was super negative. Like it was just because that's what I took away from it. It was just, if you took bad fantasy and good fantasy, those things that they put into the commercial, and you took them completely out, it's an acceptable commercial. Like if you took those two concepts out and you let someone make up their own mind as to which one was an acceptable fantasy for themselves. Obviously, ESPN wants you to use
they're
their app.
trying to sell you something,
right.
So they're going to couch it.
Right. Outside of that, if you just took those two concepts out of it completely, it was an interesting commercial.
You would have preferred something more along the lines of fantasy. Just sort of like fantasy exclamation point.
It's like, which fantasy would you prefer? Like giving an option rather than saying, no, if you do this, there's something wrong with you. You should do this because then all the cool kids are doing it. That's kind of the core messaging, which infuriates the fuck out of me.
Something that's rolling through my mind, and we're going to come back to this in a future episode we've already discussed, is the origin of Magic the Gathering.
Okay, yeah.
So some people may know this, some people may not know this. When Richard Garfield, the guy that designed Magic the Gathering, was asked to make a game, he had originally gone to Wizards of the Coast and pitched a board game called Robo Rally. And at the time, Wizards of the Coast was like, we're a tiny publishing house. We make third-party D&D supplements, was all they were doing at the time, I believe. And they were like, we just can't produce a board game like this. What we're really looking for, could you make something on cards that you could play in between role-playing sessions? Because we're a role-playing game company.
Right.
Like when you're waiting for the group to show up, something you could be doing. There's the idea of like peripheral games that can feed off of one another, that feed into that same fun experience. They could have taken that. and been like,
that's an excellent
like,
point.
are
yeah.
you waiting to get, to become alive again because your game's rules say you have to sit out of bounds or whatever until such time as you can go back? Well, maybe you should play, this other fantasy football game.
See, that they could have used you on the marketing team, because that's a perfect way to do it, because there are, just like you said, there are so many people who actually LARP and game who also partake in football fantasy, fantasy leagues, baseball fantasy. I mean, the list goes on and on. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah,
and
I could have walked into a boardroom, used the word synergy, and they would have all thrown things at me.
Is that a word that you commonly use? Yeah, on your day-to-day basis? Yeah.
I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
I've used it right now.
Oh man, but yeah, no. Like I said, I think it was that negative connotation that really, really just irked me, and I think that's what also irked everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's putting that stigma back on gaming. Where, let's be real here, LARPing and that type of gaming has come far, but it hasn't come so far that everyone has embraced it yet.
Oh no, we're 100%. The LARP, hobby is a novelty.
Yes, absolutely. It is what it is. But I think it's important to have these discussions. Thank you for indulging me in talking about this, because
I was, when you brought up this, article as a subject, I was like, yeah, sure, we can talk about it. I don't know what we're going to talk about though.
Yeah, no, I needed to get it off my chest. It's so fucking infuriating when shit like that happens.
Things like this do come up in in gaming communities all the time. There'll be some inciting event of someone having done things bad or wrong, and it gets people really talking. And I think the best thing to look at from this one, are people like, what's the name of the guy that did the article?
Oh, Sam the Rogue. Yeah.
That Sam the Rogue gets out there and just spins it back.
Yeah.
Oh, no, having fun.
If it wasn't for him, I would probably be on that bandwagon of sending angry emails to ESPN. Just like, fuck you, man, what the hell? But after I read that, I was like, he took the right approach. He's
taking the approach that we should be taking.
Yes.
That we should always be encouraging in the communities. Like,
yes.
When something like this goes on, look to the positives. There's a...
Normally I am one of the first guys to say look for the positives in things.
Yeah.
But I am, as I age, get old and crotchety, and my anger reflex is
the knee-jerk reaction.
It's absolutely sometimes, and this was one of those things.
But there's a Mr. Rogers quote where he's talking about anytime tragedy happens and it's bad, his mother told him, look for the helpers.
Yeah.
Look for all the people that are helping, because there's, even in bad situations, there are people doing good, and there are people working to fix it.
Yep.
And I would hope that what you and I are doing right now, talking about this, maybe we'll get some people thinking on it a little bit more.
And that's what I hope as well. That's why I read it. I mean, after reading the letter, it was just, and granted, whether he'll hear this episode or not ever, I do want to thank Sam Swicegood for actually putting out that open letter, because that is, let me tell you, my friend, that is the best way to approach this. That is, your letter was amazing, and it was a pleasure for me to read it on our show.
He took the sort of the levity that you can see when you're in a LARP scenario, and the fun that is there, and all the hard work that people do, and he just praised all the good things.
Yes, which is and that's
at the same time, backhanded compliments are backhanded.
It was still good. It was still good.
He did a great job.
He kept it positive. But so again, thanks for indulging me on this. I really appreciate that.
And if anyone out there has their own take on this, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know how you feel about this whole thing. We'd really like to know. And definitely, I'll put it to you this way: whether it's, hopefully this is not an ongoing thing, but we will continue discussing issues like this.
Yeah, or if you know of a place where gaming in some capacity has come up in media that maybe you don't think we know about, we'd love to check it out. Maybe we'll talk about some of those things in a future episode.
Yep. So, all right. I think it's a short episode, but I think it needed to be said. It needed to be talked about.
It's something that we can all think on and get angry at the kids on our lawn about.
Yes. Absolutely.
But until next time, we've been Old Man and Skinny Guy.
I'm Old Man.
I'm the Skinny Guy. We'll catch you next time.
Take care. Old Man and Skinny Guy can be found all over the interwebs. You can find us at Facebook at facebook.com/oldmanskinnyguy. Please make sure when you visit, you like us, you share us, you review us. Even if you don't like us, we still want to hear what you think. We're on Instagram at Old Man Skinny Guy. Are you sensing a little theme here? We're on Twitter at Old Man Skinny Guy. And our website is on WordPress, which is at www.oldmanskinnyguy.wordpress.com. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can actually go to our WordPress site and go to Skinny Guy's Bulletin Board, or you can even email us at oldmanskinnyguy@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Take care.